Good morning, guys. This is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching. It is 8:15 a.m., 7/16/2020. Quick disclaimer and reminder for all traders and investors. The webinar is for educational purposes only and not a recommendation to buy or sell any particular financial instrument. Equities, futures, options, and currency trading have large potential rewards, but also large potential risks. You must be aware of the risks and be willing to accept them in order to invest in the futures and options markets. Do not trade with money you cannot afford to lose. The website is neither a solicitation nor an offer to buy or sell equities, futures, or options. No representation is being made that any account will or is likely to achieve profits or losses similar to those discussed in this channel. Past performance of any trading system or methodology is not indicative of future results. Absolutely consult your registered financial advisor and your risk trading plan before ever trading any financial instrument. Okay, so what I was trying to show y'all, okay, so see that orange area where we have all the overlapping value? Okay, so hold on, I'm going to do something here real quick. Should have done it with the other one. Okay, so first, see that right there? That's that orange area, right? So look back going to the third, right? See how we keep sweeping this area back and forth all the way through? Okay, so it's a huge area. So that tells you two things. So guys, if I post this on YouTube, we're just discussing why this 3168 to 3132 could be an area of challenge for us, but it's also an area of opportunity. If you get the short, right, so see how we came down through here, and they ripped all the way down to the bottom of that area, and then they ripped all the way back up? That's where the opportunity lies in this area. If we can get an hourly stop out, get the algos to trigger us, and push all the way through, you got to think from a chess strategy, that's a big opportunity to make a lot of money. Secondly, the second thing it tells you is we got to get below 3132.75 and stay below 3132.75. The third thing that tells you is the middle of that range is the most horrible, terrible place to start a position. Okay? It just is not going to work very efficiently for you. That's just how it goes. Okay? So, you just want to note it down. And here's what's going to happen, right? If we get there and we're tired and not aware, and we see setups in that area that are in the mid, you're going to have to decide whether you want to take them or not, right? We already know from evidence in the past that that area is easily traded through. And if you go back and look to the left, right, see that area again? See that right there? So see how that 3140 was resistance? Because it was the mid of this half gap right here when we originally came into it on 617, right? But you can see how we gapped all the way through it. They tried to push back in and it had become resistance temporarily. And once they broke resistance, they were able to sweep all the way through. So there's two things to point out about that. Number one, right underneath that 3132, there is support for a long, most likely, right when we get out of that area, just like there was the other day. And we already know that for whatever reason, looking back in history, that area gets repeatedly swept. So if you want to play odds of not getting swept, you just stay out of that area in general, right? If you go even further back, right, there's the same area again. The whole thing keeps getting swept. Now, what you could say is, but Simon, if I'd taken the short back on the 26th, well, that's true. I'm not saying that there's no trades that are available in this area. What I'm saying is this area has a history, that particular piece of attractive market has a history of getting traded all the way through. So why would I want to necessarily sit there and fight that? Let's see if I can go back far enough when we came up through it, but I can't. This has a history of trading all the way through it, right? And so I need to take that into account if I'm going to take a trade in that area. I am not saying don't trade it. I'm not saying there won't be setups in that area. All I'm saying is that our odds of getting slipped through that area are higher than normal at that location, and you need to be aware of it, right? I would have said the same thing here. I said the odds. See how we go straight through on auction through here? So see how if I put a line through here, what you'll see is from here to about right here. Actually a little bit higher. See how this area keeps getting swept through? Yes, you can pick off areas that would have provided good trades. Sometimes the top of that provides support. It just can be slippery. That's all. And if you go back and look through that as we roll to the right, that area, see how it acts as resistance, but watch when we come back up. I bet it's going to slip right through it. Resistance, almost all the way back through it. It didn't quite do that. right? So that's a much wider area. That's 84 to 67. It's almost 100 points, right? But you can see how that area in general, right? When I look at that, I'd go, hey, we could really trade to the top side of that whole area because we've slipped through before. This area is significantly larger than that 36. This encompasses 100 points, so there's other factors that come in. Anyways, let's get that off our chart. Oh, what did I do? I did something. It's loading it. I must have changed the time frame. Let's find out. F5. 5 minutes. And let's just load 20 days. So it'll do it quickly. Make sure everything's still okay. And there we go. So I'm concerned about this area, bottom line, right? Hold on. Control End. I'm concerned about this 38 through 27. Additionally, right? Why don't I have... Did I goof that? I think I goofed it, guys. Hold on a second. I did. Prior day's high. Oh, I see what I did. Prior day's low. This goes away. And once again, you'll see where that short setup was just above the prior, that session high from 713. Ended up being a pretty decent short for a rollback to the downside. All right. So let me post this, and then we will get to work on the rest of our stuff. And then also you'll notice this is just becoming a larger balance area, right? We're really going to have to clear that 3120 and close below all this, what's now support underneath here. We're going to get through all of that to break lower. Okay, so let's pull this on down. Spread this out a little bit. Edit. Print the image. File. Save as JPEG. Okay, guys, so on the Slack channel, it's posted. Oh, damn, wrong chart. It's all right. I'll post both. That's weird. Let's fix that. Okay. Yes. And there's the 5-minute chart. Okay, so what I wanted to get to is what I was explaining this morning. So in the room, we've had a couple of, hands down, actually, the worst 3 days I've had in years. I literally went back and looked. I haven't taken that many stops since 2013, right? So there becomes a question of how do you improve or how do you fix when all of a sudden you find you're in a rut? So number one, from a coaching perspective, I see people pressing their trades when they start to draw down instead of unwinding their trades and going lower and giving themselves, there's a ratio of pressure to learning, right? And what we have to do is we got to figure out what's going wrong, right? And there's a combo in that. You can't turn all the dials at once or you blow it up, right? So secondly, if you're like me, and not everyone is, but if you're like me, I get emotional about doing poorly, right? And so the first thing I have to do is I have to calm down. Secondly, I have to get myself to where I'm in a learning mode instead of a blaming mode or a pissed off mode, okay? It took me a couple of days to get there, right? So how I handle that is I quit trading basically, right? I take long breaks away from the screen. I don't try to overpress. If it goes south, if I can't get it right the first time or the second time like yesterday, I just stop, right? So when I sit back down, if I've made corrections, that first correction, I'll give it one chance, two chances, but I know that I usually don't take two stops back to back. It's really rare, right? So if I take two stops back to back, it's time for me, hey, whatever correction I was trying to make didn't work, right? Why am I going to keep burning down my own house when I got to go, okay, step back again. I talked to some people in the room, right? So if you looked at the assessment, the calls, i.e. were going up or i.e. were going down, were generally correct. Unfortunately, the stops were incorrect, and the entries that were working before all of a sudden stopped working. Well, why is that? Right? Well, the verified bar and the algo. Well, what happened was we had so much upside momentum, right? I'm going to say it again. We had so much upside momentum, right, that I don't know where this 5-minute chart is. There it is. We had so much upside momentum that I didn't need to worry about whether we had stopped out buyers or stopped out sellers. As a matter of fact, it's fair to say I just totally blocked that out of my head, right? I just said, forget it. I don't need to know about it. I'm blocking it out of my head, right? I got to do one other thing here. Hold on a second here. See where we are. Pre-market, easy main session. Ooh, that's a problem. Hold on a second. I'll wait. 2-9. 5-9. Okay. And let's fix. That means I need to fix this real quick. 5. Oh, I don't have to fix it here. Got it. There we go. Now we're in proper shape. Okay, so there's what the 5-minute chart looks like right now. And there's our locations below. There's potential support. The likelihood that we get a response out of 63 is pretty strong, considering it'll be over a 30-point stretch. Just know it's inside that 3168. If it breaks, we can sweep through the rest of that location, now that I think about it. So when I went back and go, well, why did it work? First of all, what was working that was giving us such strong results, and why all of a sudden did it stop working? So I don't know why it stopped working, but we were just so strong in the rotations and the crispness of the market. I don't have another word to use it, but the rotations were just going, particularly to the upside, right? That I didn't have to worry about whether we had two stopped out buyers or two stopped out sellers, okay? But if you go back and look, I'm going to go back to the 1.5, and I'm going to go back to yesterday morning. And I'm just going to even start with this morning when I was, when you look at this reversal off the bottom, right, and you line things up. So see this 3188. So let's first go to the hourly chart, because this we can line up. 3188 comes right over here. We had a line at the 3189 is the, I'll make this bigger. 3189 is the 3188. Why do I have that as a 50 retrace? Hold on one second. Let's fix this really quick here. 50. So the 3188, okay, the 3188 over here is the 318 from the low on the 14th to the high on the 23rd. And if you look to the left over there, it took out this hourly low right over here, which, as you know, is one of the first parts, the important part. Stuff here, I'll draw this out again. It took out that 3192 low, okay? We just opened up, by the way. Obviously, I am not trading the first hour today because all my stops have come in the first hour. Easy way to fix that. Don't trade the first hour, right? I'll just observe and take notes. So going back to that overnight, right? So what you'll see here, this is that 31.92. This is the 31.88. Okay, so let's go through. Where's my stopped out buyers, right? So we know we got behind the 31.92. This buyer got stopped. This buyer did not get stopped, so it leaves this guy and this guy, right? And you can see that they just did not come back in over here. They just did not come back in and take out this guy or this guy. This would have been perfect off the low. So I was talking to Matt at the time. This set up a conundrum. See this algo signal right here? There's much fewer signals on this. See this algo signal? First of all, we had an energy box, as denoted by the hashtags, right? And we had the algo signal printed below. So I told Matt, I go, that's a quandary for us, right? Because you do have two stopped out buyers. You have this guy and this guy. But in order to break free, right, we were going to have to clear this area right up here, which is basically 3202. That's what you're going to have to break free of in order to push higher. So what I told Matt was, well, wow, now I have a conflict. If I'm looking for two stopped out buyers and the algo to trigger, how often does this create a problem? We went back out and figured out that you actually get that combo all together quite often, though not every time. So what I worked out when I went back and looked, and what I wrote my notes after I got done speaking to Matt very early this morning, was I was like, if this is by itself and it's below an hourly stop out, and it's just below an hourly stop out, and then the trap occurs back above that hourly stop out, and you have two stopped out buyers to the left, right? And you have two stopped out buyers to the left, then you're good to go. Let me show you why that's important. Okay, so see that? And that ends up producing, if you took the long at 31.92, it produced a maximum favorable expression of 32.02, which isn't bad for the European session, right? So if you go back to yesterday where we were at the hourly stop outs, right, and there was some confusion. So I'm going to go back over here. There's 9 a.m. Okay. This is where we're over here and we're going, hey, there's no stop outs over here to the left. So this is not new, right? We've been using this for a long time. We just haven't had to use it for a couple of weeks because the market has just been directional, and picking off the longs has been a little bit easier than it has been in the past, right? So when you come back over here and you look, right, so what do we want? Two stopped out buyers. Well, you can't have stopped out buyers over here. You haven't had any kind of downside rotation, right? So we're looking for it to occur on some type of slant to the downside, right? So this pushes through, and you can see over here, see how we take out this low. This was an hourly stop, and then we came out and we took out this low over here. So just watch in sequence. So you have all these stops getting taken out, and this is the last stop that gets taken out that low. Now, this is your last verified algo bar. So you got to get above that, right? So that is your trigger right there. See how we came back above? Excuse me. When we came back over, we set one more verified bar over here. So what you had is your stopped out buyers to the left. Here comes your verified bar. That's the close above. This is your, let's see, 1, 2, 3. So this is the low. So it's this guy and this guy. So this level right here, that 32.17, is what needed to be cleared. So your entry, right, would have been on this bar right at 32.17, right? And then you had to clear above, really, I guess it's 32.17.75 or 32.18. Once we cleared above 32.18, that released beautifully to the upside, right? Now, as we were coming up, right, we come back down a second time. So you know, at 10.25, we are setting a new low over there to the left. See that? That move right over there is all of that is setting a new low off to the left. This is on Wednesday, right? So go through the sequence as we're pushing through, right? We push a new low. There's your double arrows down right here. It takes out this guy, and it takes out this guy. So I'm going to erase the lines here real quick, right? And we're tanking, by the way, just so you know. So as you're looking to come down, you're going, okay, I got this guy, and I've got this guy. So you have your two stopped out buyers. And here, so remember over here, you didn't have your two stopped out buyers. were off to the left. So see here, you go, but I have stopped out buyers over here. That's true. But you don't have an algo bar firing, right? So here you have algo bar firing. You finally take out the two to the left. This is your lowest bar. Your long comes about 32.05 and it rolls up to roughly 32.17. Again, it doesn't skyrocket to the upside, but it gave you more than enough from 32.05 to 32.17 to get your risk off and see if it would launch, right? This is now your low, right? And that 1030 closes that bar. We start a new bar, so this is all new lows in here. So as we're coming down, we know we're taking out buyers to the left. Here's your next verified bars. This buyer clearly got stopped out, right? So now we're going to spread it out as we get down here, right? Because this is what the turn looked like. So now you have this massive push down, right? And there's no way, right, when you get this bar, what you really want, just like earlier. So see, compare earlier. So go back earlier in the morning. See when you have that huge bar to the downside, right? So right there it turned, but then we're going to come a little bit later at the 9 o'clock. See how you get this big bar down? There's no way all your stopped out buyers are going to be up here. You want your, if you get a big bar down, you want your stopped out buyers to occur to the right as opposed to the left, right? But you want to try to get those stopped out buyers as close to that low as possible. It requires a little bit of seat time, as we all know. None of this for members in the room should sound crazy, right? So there's the big wave down. Now I'm looking for my stopped out buyers. Stopped out 1, stopped out 2. Now, I have an energy box, right? So in this case, I have an energy box, which looks like this. Let's see, downside, upside. So obviously we're not looking for shorts at the low of the day. We break the energy box to the upside. We're missing the algo never fires on this range bar, 1.5. So you got to write down, hey, do I take it with or without the double arrows down, the algo signal? I probably would not have taken that, right? But watch what happens on the other side of the range. When you come up to the other side of the range up here, and Bill pointed this out. Okay, so see how this is your only potential client part where you can have the double arrows, and there's no way you can get the stopped out buyers and have that triggered, right? So see when we get up on top here, so excuse me, you're looking for stopped out sellers. So this seller gets stopped out, right? And we're going to go all the way down the line. I'm going to shortcut it here to finally you get these two guys, this guy gets stopped out, right? Why is that important? Because now we have a release point. This becomes my release point right there. There's my double arrows up right here. Bar gets verified right here on this bar. Close below. So now I have my two stopped out sellers close by. I get a verified bar above. I get my bar with my point of control underneath. Whether you chose this bar or this bar really doesn't matter, right? And now you've got your roll to the downside. Okay, and they started that process over. You'll see we took out this guy and this guy down here at the bottom. See this? Even though it wasn't an hourly stop out, you took out this guy, this guy, this guy. There's your parallel arrows down with your stopped out buyers. There's your trigger above, and that's your payday. So, after doing that work, and I spoke with Matt, I asked him to go back and look. He's also had a difficult week. And he said, yeah, that would have eliminated 2 of my stops. Not only would have it eliminated 2 of his stops, but it would have put us in on multiple winning trades, right? So, here's the whole point. I have about a day to 2 days of free work to do, meaning that's what I need to recover my P&L, right? But I'm not worried about my P&L for this week, right? I'm worried about my P&L for long term, right? Now, one of my character benefits and defects is I get on a roll, and I've pretty much been on a roll since May. The whole year's been good, actually. But May, I really turned the wick up, right? May, June was really best June I've ever had. July was on a roll until Monday, right? So the whole point is now you put in your journal, hey, if even when Simon's being uber aggressive and the trades are working, if I wait for my 2 stopped out buyers or 2 stopped out sellers, in addition to the algo trigger, my odds go up significantly. Not only that I'll have winning trades, but that my drawdowns I'll be able to eliminate when Simon's taking the very cutting edge of trades, I'll be able to eliminate some of the stop outs that kind of caused Simon problems this last time through. And then you got to evaluate where you want to be on that spectrum, right? But that's how we fix that, is we look for the stopped out buyers, stopped out sellers, location has not gone away, right? And then the algo trigger. And I think that'll fix a lot of our issues. So if we go look at this morning, right? First, let's go see where our hourlies were this morning. Okay, so you can see there in this first hourly bar, see how at the 730 bar we broke that 3192. So that 3192 again was location, right? Right over here, I'm looking on a 1.5 range bar. Okay, so I got below the hourly. I have parallel algos, 3 algos down, parallel algos, right? So have I stopped out my buyers? Stop 1, stop 2, with my highest buyer right here. That's my break. We're backside testing that break now. I have an energy box. Verified my bar right there. Closed above with a point of control right here. That's my long, 3192 to 3201. Okay, I did not take it. Obviously, I was in the middle of explaining what we have to do to adjust. Same process worked in NQ. So now I have a way to get back to the middle of the road. And I explained that to y'all when I'm coaching y'all one-on-one, right? The reason I have y'all go through all the detail, the nitty-gritty, that sometimes it looks like, well, we go through all this detail and then we don't use it, right? Or we set it aside. There has to be a way for all of us to quickly get back to the middle of the road so that we don't go what many of y'all have experienced is, well, I was doing great and then I lost all my money. I gave it back. I made money for months and I gave it all back for months, right? This has been Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of difficulty, and we have a way back to the middle of the road to put down P&L. Everyone talks about making money. Very few people talk about how to recover when things don't go right, right? This is how we're going to get back to right in terms of putting down the P&L. And then, right, your confidence can wane sometimes in terms of the aggressiveness of the trade. Once I pick up the pace of the market and what's going on, I'll probably go back to the more aggressive trades. You'll have to decide whether you want to do that with me or not, right? But I will focus on this being part of our setup. So for this morning, on the 1.5, right, this is where we're at. As of now, we need to get above, for a good short, a minimum 3201.50. Followed by 3203.50. Longs are now located underneath 3109.50. Wide ranging bar in the first hour, right? So you don't have to do that if you get set up. If you get set up and you don't want to wait for the hourly locations, I'm cool with that. But the hourly locations give us the edge to finding the bigger swings, right? I'm really tired right now, so I'm only going to trade on hourly stop out locations. This becomes pretty big right over here, this 3188.50. And then we have areas below. You can see that we're trading below between prior day's low and prior day's value area, right? And it sure looks like we want to come down and test that 3170, but I'm not certain of that, right? So, and just so you know, I'd be doing the same thing in NQ. So there's my stop out down there at 10,490, right? That was overnight. You can see we've already been trending up, right? So if I look at that, I go back to that, looks like that's a 530 bar to 630. I don't think I got the signal on this one. Okay, so see when we roll down here, the algo didn't trigger, nor did the energy bar in this particular case. It came all the way down. We took out this buyer. This buyer never got taken out, so it's this guy and this guy. That puts my long above here. And then let's see if Bill's head and shoulder setup came in, and it did. Okay, so see how they're using this as the left shoulder over here? They're going to use one of these as the left shoulder in here, right? So see how when we came back in, we finally had a trigger here and here. And if you'll look, so the pattern can repeat off that left shoulder. Buyer, buyer, stopped out, right? So this move here stopped both those guys out. Here's your verified arrow down. That's your trigger long. This is your release. How far did we get before it got there? Let's see. From your trigger, you took it from 10,539 up to 10,560. So 20 points, $400 a contract in that rip, right? And then I don't know if it set back up over here because there's no way it could take out. Let's see if it came back into the left shoulder again. And it didn't set up a second time back in here. It just turned at 740. And there was econ on that. They tried to get it, right, and they couldn't. And they left this bar behind, by the way. So if they come back in, so that bar got left behind. Let's see if they came back underneath it. Nah, they didn't do it. Not yet. They haven't done it yet, right? And then on the way up, seller stopped. Let's do this. Stopped. Okay, so I want to see this. See where this guy got stopped? Well, that's a no shit alert because he's all the way down here. You want him stopped all the way up here, right? This guy does me no good. I need it stopped all the way up on top, right? Just like I need, so see into that hole down there? See how I got buyer stopped, buyer stopped. So that would be, this would be my high, and that buyer stopped, right? This is my verified bar right here. That becomes my long for the push to the upside. If they're going to give me a push to the upside, all I'm missing there is an hourly stop out. Okay, so I want to pause for a second. Guys, that helped give clarification for what we're looking for. The room's open to everybody. You can ask a question right now because I literally worked on this almost all night long. I went back and looked at the trades that failed, the trades that worked, what we could have improved, and how to improve it. So, floor's open. Any questions? Literally, you can ask me when I'm not in a trade in the morning. It's a rare deal, right? But see how that setup worked beautifully with the stopped out buyers? The stopped out sellers? Hey, Joyce, hit me. Hey, Matt, does that continue to make sense now? Great. Bill, do you have anything to add to that? Joyce, the setup on the head and shoulders came all the way back over here. Okay, so there's several. And I can cover that in a separate video, but in this particular case, this would have to be serving. Remember, those head and shoulders are always constantly moving. Like here, it's here, right? And it's here. And then it became this over here on the left side. So now if you're going to trap, you're going to trap back in right over there That's inverted head, left shoulder, right shoulder, and now it is, see how they've pushed back in that left shoulder? And that's what's releasing it to push to the upside right now. I can cover that in our coaching session this afternoon, if you'd like. Okay, guys, everyone seems cool then. That's great. So let's go make some money today. So here's the reality situation. I need to take a nap somewhere this morning. Probably at 10 o'clock I'll go take one, so I can be fresh. I'd like to find, my goal is to get one trade today. That's it. It took a lot out of me to figure out where the process needed to be amended or patched a bit. So let's just get back to what we're doing. And then I was going to start with CL today. I'll start with CL next Monday on the same process. The stopped out buyers, and then the algo trigger, so on and so forth. And when I looked at it briefly overnight, yeah, it was good. And so, again, see how we're pushing for to this 3203, right? And that should make sense to you. We took out the stops at the bottom. We should be trying to get to the other side of this coin, right? And NQ is reaching the area where we would have stopped out off the hourly. We'd be hitting the stops right now. That's at 10.593, and then the next one's going to be at 10.616. What I don't have is the stopped out sellers yet. So looking for that over there. And just to finish that off, see how beautifully that launched on NQ? Look at that. You came in. I hate how I have to reset this chart every time. Let's see. You came in. There's stopped out buyers, verified bar. You closed above. And that's a monster trade right there. That's a long at roughly 67. Almost to 97, $600 a contract. It's really good. So, at any rate, let's see what sets up next. I will need y'all's help today with stopped out buyers and sellers because I'm going to fade pretty hard later this morning. Bill, this pick posted several weekends ago, so it makes perfect sense. A little more detail, same idea. Agreed, Bill. Thank you. So you can see what everyone built, posted. Everyone should have access to that, right? But, right, Bill's going through and detailing everything that he's seen in that with great detail in his notes. And this is what your notes should look like, right? This is what your notes should look like, right? So good job, Bill. So that's the coverage for this morning, guys. It looks like we have a balanced market still, right? Everyone who shorted down low is getting smoked. We just taken out the, right? So I'm working off a 1.5 range. It's actually a little bit slow. We might be able to drop to 1.25. But either way, I'm looking for my elements, right? Verified algo, stopped out sellers, right? I'd like the stopped out sellers to be in a compact area, and then we'll take the trades from there. I'm going to stop this recording. I'll post it for members so y'all can review it.